Why, hello there, YouTube, and welcome to a brand new horror talk. So, this horror talk is going to be slightly different. See, horror talk I usually discuss like a horror franchise or a horror icon or a genre or a certain mythos in horror. But this time, I'm going to do a six-part episode of Horror Talk in the build-up to Halloween. So for the next 6 Thursdays on this channel, I will be having Horror Talk, like I said, in the build-up to Halloween. And I will be, well, discussing the Halloween franchise from its timelines, because there are multiple timelines, and everything from how it all started in 78. So, of course, this episode is called Part 1, The Night He Came Home. So in this one, I'm going to primarily discuss Halloween and Halloween 2, from 1978 to 1981. So, let's begin. So, starting off with it, in 1978, a film came out which defined the slasher genre forever. I mean, before we had this one, the slashers that we had were Psycho, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Black Christmas, and a couple of others. But it wasn't until the 1978 Halloween came out and gave us the cliches we have in horror. Since then, we've had the cliches that the virgin survives, that the killer is a mass murderer, which I think was around before Micheal was the killer, but yeah, it set the cliche for the virgin survives and those who have sex die. I mean, that wasn't made more aware until Jason's era, till the Friday the 13th franchise in the 80s, but this was the start of it all with how the slasher works. So, 1978, we had our first film out, and that was titled Halloween. Originally titled The Babysitter Murders, this film is written by Deborah Hill and John Carpenter and directed by John Carpenter, the legendary horror director that started it all, of course. So, this Halloween, it starred Donald Pleasance, Jamie Lee Curtis in her first ever lead role, PJ Soles and Nancy Loomis, also starring Nick Castle as the Shape Michael Myers. The music was composed by John Carpenter. Now, this film was done on a very tight budget, so tight that they couldn't really afford much of anything. They managed to get a location for the neighbourhood of Haddonfield, Illinois, and whenever they filmed Halloween, because it was set on Halloween, they had to make it look like autumn time, or as Americans call it, the fall. They would have leaves laying everywhere, which would be the same leaves they'd use again. They'd lay them out and then they'd pick them all up after to use them again in another shot. So, like I said, this was done on a tight budget, and of course, this at the time, well, it launched Jamie Lee Curtis's career as a scream queen and actress. Before this, she was known as the daughter of Janet Leigh, who has been known for many films, such as her notorious role in Psycho. So, Jamie Lee Curtis made a big break in horror, and she starred as the protagonist, Laurie Strode, who was the virgin who would become the sole survivor of this film. We also had the antagonist, the hero. Well, she was a protagonist. We had another protagonist, the hero that was Dr. Sam Loomis, played by Donald Pleasance, who became a series regular from 1978 to 1995, right up until his death. So, and here's a little fun fact. The role of Dr. Sam Loomis was originally offered to Christopher Lee, but Christopher Lee turned down the role because he felt this film's too low budget and isn't going to do much. But boy, did he soon regret that decision after, because this film became so successful that people were wanting more. But we'll get to that in a while. But of course, this film gave us one of the most iconic slasher icons ever, Michael Myers, also known as The Shape, played by Nick Castle in the first film and Dick Warlock in the second film, and played by a young actor who played little Michael Myers, played by Tom Moran in... Hang on, no, he was played by Tom Moran unmasked when in the scene when they unmasked him, and was played by Will Sandin at 6 years old. So, Michael Myers, of course, everyone knows who he is. He's known for the boiler suit that he wears, the overalls or jumpsuit, with his kitchen knife that he used, or butcher's knife, and of course his white pale mask, which everybody knows, if you know the films as well as I do, is obviously a Don Post Captain Kirk mask. See, the mask was originally going to be a clown mask, like they used in the opening scene, but yeah, because it was such a tight budget, they couldn't afford to get one professionally made. But then the props designer came to John Carpenter with a Captain Kirk mask. They painted it white, cut the eye holes bigger, and took off the sideburns and messed up the hair, and then the rest is history. So this film focuses on, at first, Michael Myers as a kid. In the opening scene, which is another infamous part of the film, we see through the eyes of a killer who's wearing the mask, going upstairs and brutally murdering a teenage girl after she has sex with her boyfriend. That little person turns out to be a kid none other than Michael Myers. And 15 years later, in the Halloween of 1978, he escapes from his mental institution in Smith's Grove Sanitarium and returns home to Haddonfield, Illinois, where he goes out on a murderous rampage, killing 2 babysitters in the process. So, in this, the kill count isn't that big. We do get a kill count of a truck driver, where Michael gets the overalls from. We also get a kill of Laurie's friends, starting with Annie, played by Nancy Loomis, and she gets killed by Michael in the car, and she's also babysitting for a little girl named Lindsay Wallace, who she manages to get over to little Tommy Doyle's house where Laurie's babysitting, so she can have some fun times with her boyfriend, but gets killed before he can get there. Another person who is killed is Laurie's other friend, Linda, played by PJ Souls, who, well, is like the pretty girl and the trollop. And her boyfriend Bob gets killed, and she also then gets strangled to death by Michael when he's wearing the cover over him, pretending to be a ghost. That is a very unsettling scene. But the only one who survives the whole thing is Laurie Strode. After fighting off Michael and protecting the kids, she then, as she's about to be killed, Dr. Loomis comes into the rescue, and Dr. Loomis spends a majority of the film trying to find Michael and bring him back to Smith's Grove. But he purchases a gun and shoots him 6 times before he falls out the window backwards and lands there, laying on the ground lifeless, but then he's gone. That film, done so independently and on a tight budget, that people in theatres, John Carpenter said people were screaming, they were all startled, especially the scene where we think Michael's dead, but then he gets up and it plays that suspenseful note, that doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. That was a memorable scene too in the film. So, throughout the film, the kill count in Halloween is not as big as the kills become in later films. So, after Halloween was a success, they ended up making a sequel, and in 1981 we got the sequel that was titled Halloween 2. This time Nick Castle did not reprise his role as Michael Myers, but he did get played by actor Dick Warlock. The mask was the same mask, but because of the years that we didn't have a Halloween movie, the mask pretty much changed slightly. And another fact as well, they actually wrote a letter to William Shatner saying thanks for letting us use your face, and he had no idea what they were on about. And of course we'll get to that in a future episode, why the mask changes. Yeah. So in the sequel, John Carpenter stepped down as director and remained with his involvement as co-writer and producer with his at the time wife Deborah Hill, who wrote and produced the previous film with him. This one was directed by Rick Rosenthal, he directed this, and this starred Jamie Lee Curtis and Donald Pleasance. Now Jamie Lee Curtis in the leading role. So this takes off directly after the first film, how it ends. The tagline for the first film was "The Night He Came Home." The tagline for the second one was "More of the Night He Came Home." So basically, Halloween 1 and 2 is one big film because they carry straight on, taking off from when he landed lifeless on the ground and then he got up. He resumed his murderous ways and killed again. And in this, Laurie goes into hospital because she gets injured whilst fending off Michael. And Michael's still after her. No one knows why Michael's particularly interested in her. She's like someone who gets away, someone who doesn't get killed or whatever. But we do find out in this one that Michael Myers' parents, in between 1963 and 1978, Michael's parents were killed in a car crash. And yes, he had one sister who Michael murdered, Judith Myers, in the opening scene. But then we discover that he had another sister, a sister called Cynthia Myers, who was adopted by the Strodes and got her name changed to Laurie Strode. So revealed in a big twist that Laurie Strode is actually Michael's sister and he wants to kill her. His motive is pretty much unknown. All that he's driven by is his constant thoughts to keep killing and keep getting, not stopping till he gets what he wants. Of course, in this film we get a big part of the film where we're in a hospital, which involves some good kills too, such as Michael killing a nurse by stabbing over a scalpel and lifting her body up. And then another one where he dips a nurse's face in a hot tub and melts her face away, killing her. And then, of course, Dr. Loomis, at the end, lures Michael into a trap by setting off some gas tanks and causing a mass explosion. Thinking when we've just seen the last of Michael, he comes back to give one last scare as he walks out of the flames on fire before collapsing and dying. Or so we thought. And Laurie, of course, survived the whole night of Michael Myers. So this one, like I said, takes straight off from where the last film ended. So Halloween 1 and 2 are basically one big film. And here's another thing. Haddonfield. Did everyone go away for Halloween on Haddonfield? Because in Haddonfield, during the scene where Laura's running through the neighbourhood screaming, begging for help, no one seems to wake up or hear her. She even bangs on someone's door, and the person does see her, but thinks she's messing around and doesn't bother. I mean, if I saw a woman in distress, I would at least try and let her in and help her. Could cost me my life. Another thing as well, the hospital was very quiet as well. Now, I think it's because, like I say, it was done on a low budget. They could only afford so many actors to be in this film. But yeah, the hospital was pretty dead. And I'm surprised there weren't enough staff or patients there. And Michael was walking around willy-nilly, free will and stuff. There's a scene where he walks through a glass door, which I thought was kind of cool. And of course, we get Donald Pleasance back as Dr. Loomis, who is still fighting to stop Michael. This time, he doesn't want to bring him back into Smith's Grove. He wants to kill him. And of course, does he? Well, he seems to. But like I say, the fate of Michael, we all know what happens, and we will discuss that in a future episode. So, Halloween and Halloween 2. Both great films from John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. I think the first one is the best one out of these two, but again, I think of them as one film and rank them equally as they are one film, even though they're two separate films. And of course, after this one, John Carpenter saw potential in the franchise to serve as an anthology series, and 1 year later in 1982, they gave us Halloween 3. And, of course, that will be discussed in the next episode. Yes, as I said already, This first episode I'm discussing Halloween 1 and 2, the title that is The Night He Came Home. So we talked about The Night He Came Home. So, Michael Myers. He is absent from the next film, but he is far from gone. Because you see, this was the start of a franchise where we would see the Shape return. Not as much as Jason or Freddy had throughout the 80s, but we still see Michael Myers come back for more as he becomes unkillable. Well, that's it for this first part. So, as I said, this is in the build-up to Halloween, so that's it for part 1. So, let me know down in the comments below, what do you think to Halloween 1 and 2? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Be sure to let me know all that down in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to share with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and to hit that notification bell. All of my social media links are down below in the description, so you can check all that out. And yes, so join me next time when I will be discussing Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, the only film in the franchise to not feature Michael Myers. And of course, like I said, this is all in the build-up to Halloween. And this is just the start. Be sure to tune in to the brand new series of 31, which starts from the 1st of October this year. Starts on Tuesday the 1st of October, 31, where I will be this year I will be reviewing every Halloween film, every Friday the 13th film, and every Nightmare on Elm Street film ever made, as there are 31 films in total for me to review, and I thought, what the hell, I'll do that this year. So I'll be kicking it all off with a review of the first Halloween on Tuesday the 1st, and the next episode will be on Thursday the 3rd of October. So that's it for this part of Horror Talk, so until next time, don't have nightmares.